What up, everybody? You're now tuned into the true definition of a sports fanatic. I'm your host, Brandon Lampley. We got a special show for you today, man. I told you this is my third live stream this week. I'm going hard in the paint, man. I got to get it out the mud, man. Nobody's giving me anything. I got to get it. But I appreciate this man coming on with me. Introduce yourself to the people.
Keep grinding, man. That's what it's all about. I've been checking you out. You're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, man, we're going to talk about these Jags. If you notice, you say you watch my stuff. If you notice, I don't talk about them a whole lot. You know, I give little snippets here and there. But, you know, it's been a love-hate relationship for a very, very long time. 2017 was the peak, and ever since then, it's just been whatever. But I'm loyal to the end, man. I'm loyal to the end.
Hey, that's what it's all about, man. Like I'm born and raised here. I got uncles, cousins, nephews. They Jaguar fans, and there are a lot of ups and downs. That 2017, that was my first year on the beat, and it was a great season. Then you come back the next year, and they go 6-10 and 5-11, and things are changing. I say that. I feel strongly they moving in the right direction. Finally.
No, I feel it too. I do. I feel it. Oh, we got comments already. Oh, that's Nesco. Let's go. Yes, man. Appreciate that, Nesco. You say, welcome, fam.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know you mentioned you commented, you mentioned about Minshew being on the move. So what do we know about that? Because I would love to keep him here. Appreciate that, Jacquard.
But the problem is that, and even this past season, that I don't think that they feel that he fits for what they want to do. Minshew is a guy that create plays out of the pocket. He's not really a stationary guy. And then it's just his drive, and Minshew, no matter where he goes, if he stays in Jacksonville or what, he's a competitor, man. And whether they bring in Trevor Lawrence or not, he's going to make the competition and be in a dogfight because that's just the kind of person he is. And I don't really think Urban Meyer really want that type of atmosphere when you bringing in Trevor and no matter what, unless the kid get hurt, this is going to be Trevor Lawrence's team once they draft him. And you don't want to have a guy that kind of, because he's got locker room presence. Garner Minshew, he's got players in that locker room that from when he was a rookie, the things that he overcame, and they don't want to have a divided locker room in Jacksonville. And he's not going to be a guy to sit back and just say, hey, man, I'm going to accept this backup role, but not trying to fight for the starting job, even though he doesn't have any chance possible of beating out Trevor Lawrence. But they don't really want that. And you see the writing on the wall when they go out and sign C.J. Beathard, and they sign him to a $5.5 million contract. Immediately he makes more than Minshew, and it ain't by a small margin. I mean, I think Minshew make about $850 a year.
Yeah,
this guy coming in out of the blue he'll be making about $3.5 million. So the writing is on the wall. I think what they'll probably try to do is try to at least get a 6th round or a 5th round pick of him. It might be like a draft day trade or a draft night trade or something like that on day 2. But, I really like Minshew. I mean, I think he's a guy that liven up the team. I mean, when you go through a season of like what they went through, even with a 1-15 team, and the guy always shows his personality no matter what. It was a rough year for him. He went 6-6 as a rookie, and then went 1-7 as a starter last season. But man, he brings a presence in the locker room, and he's got a great personality, and he'll land on his feet somewhere. They have a better chance of getting a starting job.
Yeah. See, Jakari says, I think Minshew pushes Trev in camp. I don't think he's going to make it to camp, Jakari. I think he's going to be gone. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I rode the Minshew train. I did a whole show, and I had a little train in the beginning, a little horn going. I said I'm gonna ride the Minshew train, and then it kind of fell apart. But and it's funny, man. He's been a bright light in what has been what I would call darkness. He's been a bright spot. And I tell people all the time, I said the team that he went 6-6 with would have blew out the team last year.
Yeah,
the team that the team he went 6-6 with was far better than last year's team.
Yeah, and something else, Brandon. I mean, I always follow guys' journeys, and I'm always driven by a guy who has to overcome. Getting to the NFL is not an easy road, and it's particularly not an easy road for a quarterback. In the NFL, everybody looks at the 6'5" guy with a rifle arm. Can throw 60 yards downfield, and they got kind of like, this is the box, or this is the prototype that we want as our starting quarterback. And when you look at a guy that's he's like 5, I think it's like 5'9". They might list him as 5'10". And when this guy came on board, man, and just telling the story with the 3 different colleges, he once hit a hammer on his hand just so he could have an extra year. He got a medical red shirt year. I mean, you hear that kind of stuff and say, man, this dude, he'll like walk through a wall just to play. It just seemed like a guy who, even though they're making a lot of money and big salary, it just seemed like, man, he'll play for free.
Yeah, he does. He's one of the few that does seem like he'll play for free. Says a divided locker room is death to any team. He was a needed spark, but what happens when the spark is not enough? Yeah, he wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. See, Minshew would thrive in Seattle.
Yeah, he would.
Oh, he would. He would, Jakari. He definitely would. I believe that.
Yeah. But another thing last year, he was so driven that he didn't tell the coaching staff that he had an injury. So he was playing with the injury because if he would have told them, he would have been pulled and
yank him.
Yeah, and it kind of defines who this guy is, and it almost tells the story why Urban doesn't really. He doesn't want that. I mean, he wants competition, but he don't want competition like that where it can become a distraction. You know what I'm saying? It just he doesn't really want that. Not at that position. So.
Well, I'll say if you agree with me on this because I did a show yesterday with a buddy of mine. We talked Ravens football, and he talked me off the ledge because I don't think they're doing right by Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. They need to get him some more weapons. But I told him, I said, for Trevor, I just want Trevor to be competent. Be a good quarterback. And even if he isn't, he has a scapegoat, and the scapegoat is this right here. Because if you know this now, John, if he's not good, they're going to go straight here. Oh, it's because he went to the Jaguars. It's because he went to the Jaguars.
To be honest with you, Brandon, like nationally, man, it's like I've never heard as much dissension for a number 1 pick as I've heard nationally about this pick. Even when Cincinnati had the number 1 pick, you never think that, man, you think people around the country would really think that they'll give up the number 1 pick. I mean, it's like, that's the perception around the country. And I have to say this, man, I was not a Dave Caldwell fan. I mean, I thought he made a lot of mistakes with evaluations. I thought he took a lot of chances on things that he really didn't have to take a chance on. And I just didn't. I thought he lived and died with Blake Bortles, And you can't live with a mistake, If Blake didn't show that he was going to be a franchise quarterback after 2-3 seasons, then you got to let it go. And he just kept. I mean, my first practice when I covered this team, this guy went out on the field and threw 5 interceptions in a practice. I mean, I didn't have to know any more about him. I didn't know much about him then, but I didn't. I immediately knew then that he wasn't a franchise quarterback.
Right. You see, Yeah, I knew then. You see, that was the killer hiding his injury. Yeah, Minshew hiding his injury.
Yeah.
Jakar say, if I was the Raven GM, I trade the whole draft for Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is good. You say they do need to get Lamar more weapons. Period.
And they
Yeah,
do.
and about Blake Bortles, man, is I think Caldwell. You're right. That's Caldwell's downfall, and also Caldwell wasn't good in the money round, which was the first round. Jalen Ramsey by far is his best pick, and that was a no-brainer. You don't get credit for drafting Jalen Ramsey because he fell to you. He could have went 3 to San Diego, but he fell to you. But other than that, he in the later rounds he did very well. He drafted wide receivers very well. As you can see, the wide receivers, a lot of them we have now that are pretty good. But when it comes to the first round of the draft, that's your money round. You can't miss in that round, and he missed a lot.
Yeah, and I thought a lot of times that he drafted for like the name, not the need. And you know, I think you got to draft for need at all the time. But they had so many needs under him.
Yeah.
He had to take the cream off the top. But I mean, I just didn't think he was a great talent evaluator. And I thought he did some good, moves as far as free agency when he brought Calais Campbell and those guys in 217, because that was like the heart of that 217 team. But man, you can't. When I covered the Pelicans in the NBA, man, they had a GM that would just live and die off decisions, and it's just like a lot of GMs. I don't know if that's the trend, but man, if it doesn't work after the first or second season, if he ain't a shooter and you got him on the wing and you think he's gonna be a 3-point shooter and he can't deliver in the clutch, you ain't got a clutch performer, man.
Hey, I was done with that GM that you speak of.
Dale Demps.
I was done with Dale Demps when he had that fiasco with Anthony Davis. That's when I was done with Dale Demps, because what Dale Demps did, he let feelings get in the way of business.
Exactly.
You don't want to give Anthony Davis what he wants because of personal feelings. I don't care about personal feelings. We're trying to win.
Exactly.
So give Anthony Davis exactly what he wants, because you are going to get the compensation that you want. That's not that. It's business, man. But he made it personal.
Yeah, and that's the whole. I mean, you nailed it right on the head about this guy, because everything about him was personal, And in that business, when you run in an NFL or NBA team, it can't be personal. You got to. It's all about winning,
Yep.
Whether you like the guy or not, it's about winning. And if you can't put talent around Anthony Davis, what do you think he's going to do? He want to go to a winner. You had 5 years or so to put talent around that guy, and they never did. They just had a mix of this and a mix of that. When he signed Solomon Hill to like this crazy $35 million a year contract or whatever it was, and a guy that played on the wing and couldn't shoot, I said I was done then, man. This guy.
He's done. You got to be done. You got to be done at that point. Let's see, but Jakari said he can find some gems. Yeah, he can, Jakari. He found gems. It just was crap in the first round. He said Ernesto said he actually liked Borders. I feel like they didn't handle his development correctly, and they blew it horribly with Ramsey and the 2017 defensive squad with keeping the nucleus here. Yeah, they did. Somebody said it, and it's funny that you say that, because I can't remember who said it. There was reports about Aaron Rodgers being a supposed headache in Green Bay, and talk about how hard it was to work with him and to be around him or whatever. But they saying he was a headache. And one of the commentators say, well, if he's a headache, you take 2 Tylenol and shut up. It's that simple. Yeah. I mean, because it's Aaron Rodgers. It's like Jalen Ramsey. Take their medicine and go ahead and lay down and go to sleep. That's what you do.
And they knew what they were getting when they got Jalen. I mean, here's a guy that's going to show his personality, and you wasn't going to muzzle. They didn't do it at Florida State. They wasn't going to do it in Jacksonville. And when Coughlin and them tried to do it, that was a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I was so happy Coughlin was coming back, but just I didn't know the game had passed him by the way it did, and not from an X's and O's standpoint. The game passed him by in pretty much error, attitude, and just his overall approach to the game. Because I tell people all the time, today is the age of the diva. That's what we're in. We're in the age of the diva, and you call it feel how you want to feel, but a lot of these kids now, you're going to have to cater to them in some ways, because when you come to them with the my way or the highway, and this kids period, forget sports, kids period. When you hit a lot of kids with the my way or the highway, they get on their phone and they calling the Uber and they getting on the highway. They leave.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. I mean, what he did with New York is tremendous, but even from the 90s, early 2000s to now, you can't strong arm these. I mean, you can't strong. It's like you said, you can't strong arm athletes anymore because they're going to do the opposite. I mean, you got to allow them to have their freedom to express who they are. And the thing about Coughlin was he was finding guys for 2 minutes late. I mean, I even spoke to like Dwayne Smoot. He was like 2 minutes late for a breakfast meeting when they were playing a preseason game in Miami, and he got fined like $10,000 for being 2 minutes late when Coughlin had turned the clock like 5 minutes early. And then Marcel Doris, another one, man, like ain't no music playing in the locker room. Man, it's like, man, you gonna find a guy $5,000 for playing music in the locker room? I mean, on his own, if he want to go in the shower and listen to his music on his own, whatever he got that's waterproof, then what that got to do with winning or losing?
Wow, yeah. Oh my goodness, man. See. Bad owners and GMs are like having cancer, yet never going to the doctors, but expecting to get hilarious and unbelievable all at the same time. Hey,
it has a lot to do with winning than losing franchises.
I will say this: I'd rather have a bad GM than a bad owner, because at least the GM can get fired. The owner owns the team, so he's going to run it the way he wants to run it. So. But so this off season, and I see a lot of these moves and things we need. One of the things I keep hearing that we want to add is speed. So at the wide receiver position, especially out of the backfield, I guess a little bit of speed at the tight end position, but speed is the theme for offense that I've been hearing.
Yeah, and you got to get it at the positions that matter. I mean, you got to get speed on the outside.
Yeah.
You got to get more speed in the slot. You got to get a third down back who can run and catch and those kind of things. And, I think Philip Dorsett has the speed, but he missed the whole entire year because of a foot injury in Seattle. I think that they still should look for a little more. I think they should get a receiver in maybe the third or the fourth round of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I think Marvin Jones, who they got in free agency, is a good guy, but he's 31 years old.
Yeah.
And, I like DJ Chark, but hey man, add the more. I think the more speed you add, and that's been Urban Meyer teams and Ohio State and Florida. They were defined by the speed on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And really, that defines Florida football in period.
Yeah, it does. It does, man. Florida, that's a Florida thing, period, man. Mm-hmm. If you want speed, go to Florida. Any college coach will tell you that you want speed, you go to Florida and you go find you some speed. Speed and defensive linemen, you go to Florida.
Yeah, like those great Miami teams back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
The Thrill, the Hill, and people like that, man. Man, those guys. I mean, that's what defined them. That's what made them win. Thrill, the Hill, and all those guys, they always had speed at the receiver spots, man. And they made the big plays. Even Deion at Florida State,
Yeah. You see, Coughlin came in with that old school mentality, trying it on new millennial players who aren't just talkers but producers. Times change. Coughlin never evolved. His style is like the dinosaurs extinct. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Believe me, I had a first-hand experience of how he characterized himself in that locker room. He demanded respect, and he just, you know, I mean, that stuff don't work anymore, man. You can't demand anything. If the guy's out there producing and he's got a personality, then you just gotta allow him to have that person. If you brought him in and you know he had a personality, you're not gonna change this guy, a grown man. You're not gonna change him because you was Tom Coughlin. You know,
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it worked in New Jersey. I mean, it worked with the Giants because they like, I mean, he
Yeah.
had that
And
reputation.
even then, he had to compromise because Michael
Yeah,
Strahan and those leaders say, "Hey, we need to come to some sort of agreement." So, even then, he had to reel it in. But him in Jacksonville, he had full power, so there
yeah.
was no meeting to reel anything in. You know,
And to
so
be honest, man, most coaches wouldn't even agree with that arrangement. But at that time, Doug Marrone wanted to be a head NFL coach. But if they
mhm.
would have got like a bigger name coach at that time when they made that change, that coaching change, most coaches wouldn't agree with having the GM on the field instructing players, and
Mhm.
they wouldn't have went for that, man.
No, they wouldn't have. You see, how much faith do y'all have in Urban Meyer's dedication to the Jaguar organization? That's a good question, Ness. And I talked about that when they first hired him. I said, what is his dedication? And we won't know. We won't know because whether it's health or whether it's scandal, his like previous stops, he's left in a not so great way in both of his previous stops. So it is a question mark. But I think there's nothing else after this. This is the pinnacle of the sport that he loves. So I think that unless another opportunity for another team he might have wanted to coach comes up or something like that, and I don't see that happening. Other than that, I think he's going to stick to it as long
Yeah,
as he can.
and I agree. And I think the biggest question about him at this point is how is he going to handle losing?
Yeah,
He's never lost in his
never
entire
lost.
college career. So how is he going to wind up if you go on a 3-game losing streak this first year here as a head coach, and how is he going to handle that? You can go 10-6 and still make the playoffs in the NFL. The NFL. And obviously, you lose 6 games in college, you're going
Hmm.
home. You might go to a bowl game, but you know
Yeah.
I think that's going to be his biggest adjustment to balance the schedule. They're going to 17 games over 18 weeks. How is he going to manage his emotions and just all that goes into winning and losing on a team that's coming off a 1-15 season? And you
Yeah.
can't plug. I mean, even for the diehard Jaguar fan, you can't plug all the holes that they have in one off season. You know,
No.
gonna be some growing pains and things, but I really feel, just my opinion, if they win 6 to 7 games or even 8 games, I think it's a success. For the
Yeah.
from going from 1-15 to 8-8 as a
Yeah.
possibility with a rookie quarterback and the other holes on defense, a defense that couldn't really stop anyone with stop the run. I think that 8-8 would be tremendous.
Yeah, it would be tremendous. See, for me, based on his track record, I'm on the fence with trusting him long term here. And yeah, only way he can do that is by staying, improving, and showing. I think his biggest task, really, to me, his biggest task, it's not on the field. I don't think it's on the field because I think he knows X's and O's. He's a football coach through and through. He's also a player's coach. So I don't think he'll have trouble adjusting to coaching grown men because he's always been a player's coach. His biggest hurdle that I think is changing the culture here in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It has been a losing culture for a very, very long time. And getting it in one thing about trying to change something, like even with me, I changed my diet and I dropped like 60 pounds. But it's very easy for me to go back to what I was doing and gain that weight back. So it's very easy to get back into the things you're comfortable with. So can he change the culture and make it a permanent change?
Well, I tell you what, he's gonna force change.
Yeah.
but it's not going to be so much on the players. He's going to hold his assistant coaches as accountable for if their position is not producing at the level that he thinks they should be. That's where the brunt of Urban Meyer is going to come at. He's going to hold those assistants accountable. As he said, that he wanted elite staff and elite players, but it starts with those assistants. So I think he's going to be like driving the sleigh on those assistant coaches. But you're right. I mean, I think the biggest thing about the Jaguars is that he has to change the culture. I don't think there's players in that locker room really understand what it means to win on a consistent basis, man. In the league, you know, 217 for football for NFL reason. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Went to 5-10. You know, there's hardly any other than like Miles Jack and a couple others. There's not many players still on this team from 217. You just got a collection of young players who trying to find themselves. You know, let's don't forget that there was about 10 kickers, 10 different kickers, and he started 3 different quarterbacks. I think there was 5 quarterback changes last season. So as well as the starters. So. And then you look at even the receivers room. I mean, you get DJ Chalk, still a young player. LaVisca, still a young player.
Yeah.
You know, Cullen Johnson, still a young player. So young teams have to have the growing pain. But I will make this prediction. Taven Bryant doesn't produce. He's going to be out the door, man.
Taven,
I'm not a fan, even though he's from Florida. I'm not. You know.
Yeah, Taven was. I did a show not too long ago with my buddy Javon. He's a young kid. He's like 19, but he's very, very good. I told him he needs to get into it, start his channel because he got it. He got it. He can do this. And he's a Taven fan, man. And he just thinks Taven is going to get Urban is going to bring so much out of Taven, and he's going to get so much better because he's like, see what it is, Brandon. See, he can stack, but he can't shed. And so, you know, he can push the pocket, but he just can't get off. So with the change in the defense, you know, he'll be better. He said, and I'm just laughing at him while he's talking. And he's like, all right, man, when he has like a bunch of sacks, I'll be back on your show. I said, I'm waiting on it, and it ain't happening. It's not happening.
But you know what he said is true. But the thing is, in football, you have to be instinctive. You know, you can push the guy back, but with the running back going through like the gap, then you got to shed the block to get over. He doesn't have the instincts to do that, and you can have all the coaching in the world, but if you ain't got football instincts, you're not going to be a great player or a good player. So it's almost like he just started playing football like 4 years ago. He doesn't have instincts. He can't feel when the rush. The running back is coming right off the side of him, and he's still pushing to get leverage to push the guy backwards. But what that does, I mean, you can't make the play, it doesn't matter.
Ness having a little laugh about it. Yeah, this is when I was out on Taven. I didn't like it from the beginning anyway because we should have taken Lamar Jackson with that pick. I stand by that all day long. Lamar Jackson should have been a Jacksonville Jaguar. They took Taven 29, Lamar went 31. But, you know, let's not bring that up because that's a scar. But I was out on Taven in the Cowboys game in his rookie year when he got turned around and like he just didn't see the running back and he just started like ran the wrong way. And I was like, this is our first round pick?
Yeah.
I said, oh no, that's not looking good. It's not looking good. And then the preseason, his 2019 preseason, he was awful. Absolutely awful. He played better once the season started, but that preseason, as a lineman, offensive or defensive, tackle, guard, center, D tackle, defensive end, you should never ever get put on your backside with your hands and legs in the air. You should never be turtled. It should never happen. But he was turtled a few times, man. Oh my goodness.
But you know what, Brandon? I think they teach this guy all the tricks. They teach him technique, and then when he get in the game, the only thing he knows how to do is bull rush. He doesn't use his arms to get off blocks. He's not instinctive, like I said earlier. And he just, to me, it just seems like it would be almost like you going to play Major League Baseball and you just start pitching 2 months ago. It
Yeah,
just seems like he doesn't have any knowledge of what it takes to be an NFL a football player. To be honest, I mean, it's like you don't
yeah,
use your hands for leverage. You don't watch to see where the play is developing. It's just like that. I mean, that stuff. NFL coaches don't spend practice trying to teach a guy how to play the game. You teach the guy how to, hey, this is what we're doing. This is within our system, and this is what we expect for you to do. But they're not out there teaching like the Pop Warner fundamentals of football for a defensive lineman. And I just seen that's what's missing from him. That he doesn't either appreciate the game. Like he don't put. To me, it seems like he doesn't put any extra time into his craft.
yeah.
It's like he had a better season last year, but come on, man. The same thing you said in the Dallas game, I saw that in Carolina in 2019. And
Yeah,
it's like if you go and watch his tape, it's just like he makes the same mistakes over and over. You know,
yeah.
and the only thing he's got saving grace is he was a former first round pick.
That's that's it. And that's what Nesco just said. Nesco say, and he was number one pick. What did they see on film? I'm with you, Ness. And Gilbert Arenas said something. I forgot he was on a podcast, and I can't remember what podcast he was on. Gilbert is always giving hot takes and quotes, man, and being quotable. Because he's a lively personality, man. I would love to interview Gilbert one day. I saw him on Club. He did Shannon Sharp podcast, and he was talking. He said you're going to know the guys who are actually working. He said, especially in the NBA. He said the guys who are actually working, they get better. He said that I've never seen a guy actually work and put in hard work and not get better. I said it makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. Well, what's the guy in Philly that can't shoot from 20 feet?
Oh, Simmons, Ben.
He's a perfect example of a guy who doesn't hone his craft, in my opinion. You can't go that long and still can't shoot from outside. And he's
Oh,
a great player, but come on, man, you can't be 4 years in the league and still can't make a three.
no, you right. Because
I'm just saying.
Anybody who comes into the NBA and cannot shoot, you got to put in the work, because all you have to do is look at Rajon Rondo.
Yep.
Rondo changed. I'm talking about changed. It seemed like he changed every percentage as far as shooting you could think of. I mean, and then in the playoffs, his percentages jump in the playoffs. Playoff Rondo is a real thing, which is crazy. But that shows you, like, if you put in the work, you will get better. Oh yeah.
Well, Anthony Davis is a perfect example. When he came out of Kentucky, he was like 215 pounds, and he was a defender. He wasn't a scorer.
Right.
He worked on his game each summer, added something each summer. Even Michael Jordan added something new each summer, and then it adds up. And 4 years in, hey, he can take them off the block, he can drive around them, or he can step back and take a jump shot.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's what it is, man. That's what it is, man. So I got a question. So I've talked to but these are some of Florida fans, and it's kind of some like him, some don't. But I think I like him. And at 25, I don't know if I would take him at 25. I think we might have a greater need, but he is very interesting, and that's Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
I think Kadarius Toney can play. I think he's very explosive, and he's electric with the ball in his hands. But you got some people who just don't think he's that guy. I don't understand. I think he can play.
I don't understand that. And did he run a 4.3 yesterday?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, of anybody that runs a 4.3 that can catch even a little bit should be
a little
on
bit.
the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
he
would be a perfect guy. I mean, they could get him at 25th, and they probably could get him at 33rd. They get him in the go last to the second or third round. But
Yeah.
that's how you build your team. Even though DJ Chalk and the guy Marvin Jones that they got in free agency, when you add something like with that speed and that 4.3 40 speed, it makes all those guys get better.
Yeah. Yeah, it
You want
does.
separation. You want a guy who can stretch the field. You know,
Mm-hmm.
then it can leave the middle open. I mean, the more speed you put on the field is what makes a winning team, and that's the kind of talent they got to add more to on the Jaguars. A guy like him would be a perfect fit, I think, because I've seen
I
him
think
play
so
a lot
too.
of plays for the Gators. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, we was talking, and he said, of course Kadarius can play, man. He said, I don't understand these people. He said, imagine Kadarius Toney in Kansas City's offense.
Oh yeah,
Mm, give you chills thinking about it. He'll
yeah.
be he'll vie for Rookie of the Year in Kansas City's offense, no doubt.
Sometimes I just think that they evaluate too much on little minor things. I mean, I think the hardest thing as a coach is to estimate what a player can be within 2 years. And I think a lot of times they just get caught up on he might be 2 inches too short, or he dropped three passes against Georgia or something like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't says anything about his work ethic. It doesn't say about how he shines in the big moments. How can he create scoring opportunity or being a playmaker? Uh, Even with speed, some guys can run a 4.5, but when they're in a perfect situation, they can run 4.3 and get open to make plays. And I
Yeah.
think that's been the biggest problem with the Jaguars. They just haven't had enough playmakers, you know and they
Oh,
need
Nes
playmakers.
yeah. Yeah, they do. They need
Oh,
playmakers. Yeah. Nesco bringing up. He done brought up Deshaun Watson twice now. Oh, you want to talk about Deshaun? Ness? All right, all right. Let's talk about Deshaun real quick, and we'll get back to the Jaguars. I talked about him a little bit. I didn't talk about it much. I saw the other story that came out that said 18 masseuses who basically given testimony and statements that he's never been inappropriate with them because they worked with him over the last 5 years. And I just talk about how the story just seems so strange.
yeah,
If Deshaun, let's say Deshaun didn't have the reputation he had, then you could lean toward like, oh, well, I mean, he may be guilty, but he already had one of the cleanest quarterbacks you could think of in recent memory. Like I don't remember Deshaun getting a parking ticket. He's never been in an altercation that we know of. Raised his voice, said anything out of the way. He's been class personified. And so for these things to come out of nowhere when he's requesting a trade from Houston, and then the lawyer that's representing the plaintiffs was a neighbor and a friend of the Houston Texans owner. And now the lawyer said they're not going to share any evidence with the Houston PD because Deshaun's lawyer's son is on Houston PD, so they think he might tamper with evidence, I guess. I say, and so now it's really starting to sound like a circus to me.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what it is. I mean, it just I don't know what to think. I don't know. I don't even know how do I even assess to make an opinion. I do think that if he is innocent, I think he has to like really start stating publicly what's going on. I don't think he's
Yeah,
been publicly in the forefront of denials of things that's going on. And I mean, this kind of situation is a career killer. It ain't about
yeah,
being traded to another team. It's
yeah,
almost it could jeopardize his future in the NFL. And and it just seems like, man, it's like, you know, before things was going on, his lawyer, I mean, the lady's lawyer was like, I got one more that's coming out the next day, and
hmm
another one says, what is up to now, 18 or 20? I've heard it's up to like 20 something, and
yeah, yeah, like 20 something. Yeah,
so I don't know, man. It just seemed to me like out of nowhere all this had come upon him, and I don't know. I don't even know what to think. But you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
No, you don't.
The next,
You don't know. And I said it. I said in the court of public opinion, he's guilty right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
He's guilty. The public saying he's guilty. Oh, it's too many women. It's too many people. But you can I look at it from both sides, because I always think about, if this was me and I know I'm innocent, I don't want people to be quick to judge me. Let the
mhm,
process play itself out, because yeah, it's 20 something women, but let's say that these women were service providers and they provided him a service, and either he balked at paying them, or
mhm.
maybe he had relationships with some of them and it didn't end well, or any of those things, because now it doesn't take anything for someone to allege something. Like, it literally, half of them could have never met them in their lifetime, and they see his name and decide that they want to do that, and it's up to Deshaun and his team to prove that he did not do these things. You
And
know,
that's what they got to do more of. I mean, it's almost at this point you got to take a public. You got to sway public opinion. You got to make yourself be in the forefront of denying the charges if they're not true at this point too, because it's all about public opinion until they get
yeah,
to the courts or if the police takes in on the charges. So I don't know. It just seemed a strange situation. I mean, he's up to now. I mean, he's been like this perfect person. I mean, it's
yeah,
never been any bad publicity. Or he didn't do this or his background. I mean, he's the guy that benefited from when he was a child at the free homes. That
work done,
more
work
done.
done's program. Yeah,
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to make of that, but I don't know.
yeah. You see, and Nesco says, yes, I read the article also. In response to 18, Masu said they didn't experience this behavior from, but from him. But Ted Bundy didn't kill every woman he met. It's true. The truth must be investigated further, and I don't agree with that position from his lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Say when accused of something, the burden of proof your innocence is on you. Yeah, this is true. This is true. That's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. It may seem unfair, but I mean, it is what it is. But I will say that one thing about false allegations, if anything is false, they have to look at punishment for those who give out false allegations,
Oh,
regardless of gender, male or female. False allegations should carry a heavy penalty,
yeah.
because these things follow people for the rest of their lives. It's always going to be tied to them. Is
Yeah.
that, oh, wasn't he the one who did this? But they said they proved that he didn't do it. Well, I still think he did it, and that's how it's always going to be.
Yeah. He's going to have a tarnished career. Even now, his career is tarnished. As far
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's staying. So, but well, let's get back to these Jaguars. And I guess, see, we talked about, the offseason moves, we talked about the draft, the future and moving forward. And like I kind of like projecting where we see it. Let's say like maybe like 5 years, and where would it be? And me personally, 5 years, I could see Trevor Lawrence being a top 5 quarterback in the league, and Jacksonville being a contender. And how good Trevor is going to depend on whether we win titles or not. But I think he's going to be good enough to where it will be contenders year in and year out.
well, I agree with you, Brandon, and I think that the main thing now here for at least the next 2 years, is you got to bring and put as much talent around him to so he can flourish. Like
Yeah,
the speed receiver, the playmaker. You got to get him a tight end who can get separation, and you got to get him a speed back out of the backfield who can catch passes on third down. And to me, I think the thing that's being kind of overlooked, I would like for the Jaguars to really add a little more to the offensive line. I think the offensive line. I mean, even Urban Meyer said that. I mean, this group is good. Like they got a lot of continuity and things like that. But I just I'm not sold. Just me. I'm not sold on Cam Robinson. I would not um, be disappointed if they use a third-round pick on a tackle because you want him protected no matter what. You don't want him play 2 games and then he's hurt for the rest of the season. And I think a lot of times the offensive line, because it doesn't get a lot of publicity until a guy mess up or allow a sack and things like that. But I'm not sold on Andrew Norwell, even though he took a pay cut. And I think that you got to build a team from the inside out on both sides of the ball. And I think that's it. And I'm a little surprised Urban Meyer, and I would never question his ability to evaluate talent, but I didn't think that the offensive line, I thought they played well. I thought they played a way that James Robinson did have a great season, but a lot of those yards James Robinson did, he got on his own. He was able to get through. I mean, they made some holes for him. But I don't think their weakness is run blocking. I think their weakness is pass blocking. And they gave them 44 sacks. So, I'm a little surprised by that. But I think they have to upgrade. I think you got to not just look for the 2021 season. I think when you got an offensive line, you got to have time for them to develop. So I think you have to look at least 2-3 years down the line to get your offensive line in position that if one of those guys get hurt, then you got somebody that can come in and step in immediately without you having to go and go do a trade or a guy have to push the guy on the spot to learn the offensive system and things like that. So I think that they, I think they got to upgrade the offensive line. They got to protect this guy.
Yeah, they do. See, this is so much fun. I needed this, being stuck home recovering from severely bad pace. Hey, get well soon, Nesco. Get well soon, man. I appreciate you. He's been one of my biggest supporters. But I agree with you. You have to build a team inside out. That's seemingly one of the first things I learned in football, and especially with coaching, is Urban, no matter where he's went, offensive and defensive lines were absolutely stout. Speed on the outside. That's what it was on both sides of the ball. That's how we built it. So him building the lines, I think I got confidence in them building the lines because they're going to continue to upgrade it until they get it right. And Cam is serviceable, but I don't have a whole lot of faith because I love Kyle Pitts. I would love to get Kyle Pitts. I love Devontae Smith. I would love to get Devontae Smith. But if they can trade up into the top 10 and target one of those guys, I don't think Devontae or Kyle Pitts should be the target. Go get Penei Sewell. Yeah. Give me Penei Sewell from Oregon. That would be a great investment, and that could be a franchise tackle, and he'll take you into the future.
But Brandon, I'll tell you this: if something don't work, it ain't gonna be like the Monroe plan that they just gonna live and die with it. If the guy not producing, they're not just gonna continue to keep that guy in there. So if whether it's Cam or Norwell or any of those offensive linemen, they can repeatedly getting beat. He's taking them out.
Yes. Yeah, they're going.
Richardson being a swing tackle, but he will not allow. I mean, if a guy's not producing, he's gonna be out the game. It ain't gonna be, we're gonna stick with this guy because we don't have anybody else and that kind of stuff. You won't find that next season with this team.
No, you won't. And that's the faith I do have in Urban Meyer is guys like Taven, guys like Andrew, even guys like Andrew Norwell, because dude, his first year here, man, man. So if it don't fit, he's going to get him out of here, man. Yeah. That's the confidence I do have in Urban Meyer, and I think he's a very good evaluator of talent, and evaluator of talent specifically for what he wants to run. Because his system and what he likes to run, he knows exactly what he's looking for in those players to run his system successfully.
Yeah, and
appreciate you, Ness.
Yeah, he's going to hold his assistants accountable, And if
Mm-hmm.
your player's not producing, he's gonna hold them accountable too. But that's one of the things I like about a coach like that, man. Because see, a lot of times it's loyalty means a lot, and then when losing happens, it's like you can't make excuses for losing. You know,
Yeah.
if you perform well, you perform well. If you didn't perform well, and that used to get me with Doug. I like Doug Marone, but man, hey man, everybody can see that this is the problem, and you won't change the problem. Like you can't have a defensive coordinator who is stubborn and giving up 400 yards a game, and then you say I'm gonna stick with the guy, and
Oh my goodness.
for what?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Hey, and the shoot that right there, and then even with the Chris Doyle hire, it
Yeah,
goes back to something that the buddy of mine who got me into coaching, Eric, and I told Eric one day we were at Sandalwood, and while I was coaching, and I was at Sandalwood and I coached there for a year, and he had a friend of his who he wanted to get on the coaching staff as well. So when he brought the friend in, he came in during off-season workouts, and we working out one day, and he wasn't there. He wasn't there, so I was leading the workouts. And he's a no nonsense type of guy. He's and not a disciplinarian, but it's no nonsense. Kids don't play. We get in there, we get the job done. So I know I got to go in there. I got to lead workouts, and I'm leading workouts for the day. So I'm kind of a little jovial, but I'm like, hey, let's be serious. Let's get this workout in so we can go out and practice so we can get out of here. So his buddy who was with me that day, we're running the workouts and he's helping me out, and he gets into it with one of the players. And he got into it with one of the players, and the player he told the player something, and the players say, man, I heard what you said, smart, and I heard it, but I tried to act like I didn't hear it because I knew what was coming next. And I said, please don't go off on this kid. Please, he wasn't on the staff yet. He didn't have a job yet. And I said, please don't go off on this kid. And he went off. And I said, oh man. And it made me look bad. It made Eric look bad. It made everybody look bad. And I told him after that, I said, you can't bring everybody with you. Yeah. You can't. So Urban has learned that lesson. You can't bring everybody with you. Don't care who they are, homeboy, mother, brother, sister, cousin, uncle, Pookie, and Ray Ray. They can't all come with you. You are trying to leave the station, and they're anchor. They're holding you back. Sorry, it is what it is. And so, like you said, that was one of Doug's downfall. Todd Wash was a buddy of his. He wanted to keep him there. You should have let him go. Instead of firing Nathaniel Hackett that year, they should have fired Todd Wash.
That's what happened. He went down with the ship, man.
Yeah, he did. He
did. Like a report card, man. 400 yards, giving up 400 yards a game, 30 points. What more proof do you need? And about this Chris Doe thing, just briefly, you can't be a franchise that marched on the streets of Jacksonville talking about racial, the owner saying about racial racism has no place, and then you hire a racist as a strength coach. I mean, that's a contradiction, man. And that's not Urban. It didn't start with Urban Meyer, but it starts with an owner, and the franchise said that in June of last year. So you can't make a 360-degree turn about how faith you are about eradicating racism. And then this guy got former players saying that he bullied and call them out in names and racist. So that, to me, bottom line, that was a mistake on Urban Meyer's part. Whether he's friends with him or he regret what he did, and it doesn't matter. You can't bring that guy in to try to save his career, pick up his career and start over by giving them that job, because no NFL team would have offered him a job, and no college team was going to offer him a job either. I mean, he left because Iowa found enough evidence, and they just had to eradicate him with a buyout. But those guys, with 14 players saying the same thing, that's a problem.
Yeah. Shoot, I heard it was up to 50. They say they talked about 50 players. and they said they had some type of issue with him. And this is my thing, and this would be I guess the last thing on this. I would have been you could have justified it maybe a little bit if this was a hot coordinator or a very, very good coach. Like this was a good offensive coordinator, a great defensive coordinator, a quarterback guru, a wide receiver whisperer, a great defensive backs coach, even a special teams coach that was very good. You went through all of that for a strength coach.
And a position that he created. Because he got like 3 strength coaches. He made him like the director of sports performance. So he created a basically an unnecessary job just to do a friend a favor, basically. So
basically,
yeah,
basically. He said that's why I said they should have been fired all at the same time and much sooner. Doyle was a bad undercover move. He should have known better. He should have known better. He should have.
Can't do that these times, man. Look at I'm a grown man to say I watched some of that trial, man, and I've been tearing up, man. You can't do things like that in this time and age right now, man.
Yeah, man, it's so sensitive today. You can't. You have to be able to read the room. Yeah, I think reading the room is a lost art on this generation. Because people just seem to be ignorant, and it's not because the information is not out there. It's because you choose not to consume it, So, but it is what it is.
It don't make sense. Then it don't make sense.
It don't, man. It don't at all. It don't at all, man.
Being justified if it don't make sense. So.
Yeah, man. But man, dude, I appreciate you for this, man. I appreciate you so much, man. This was good talk, man. I had fun today. I learned a lot of stuff, man. Hey, you've been doing this for so long, man. I told you, I'm trying to get to where you are, man. I'm a baby in this, man. It's baby steps. It's baby steps.
You know what I see in you? I see a guy that's persistent and a guy that's following his dream. And as long as you do those, then it don't matter what mountain it is, you're gonna be able to climb it, man. So just keep doing what you're doing, Brandon. You're doing it. You're doing what you love. You're putting in the time. You're doing great. And keep doing what you're doing, man.
Okay, man. Yes, man. I appreciate that. I'm in this live real quick, and I'm gonna chat with you a little more. But hey, man, I appreciate y'all for watching me. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on IG, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all those things, man. I appreciate y'all. Got more videos coming up again this week. So man, just stay tuned, man. I told you I'm about to turn it out, man. We're going to the top. I appreciate y'all. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.